अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम अब्दुल हादी है और मैं एक नई वीडियो रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूँ। अ, अ,
Hey, that was quick. Welcome back.
Hi, Maya. My first
Hi
question.
there.
My first question. What are micro habits?
Oh, micro habits. I love these. They're basically tiny, almost laughably small habits that you can actually stick with. We're talking stuff like floss one tooth or do one push up. The idea is that they're so small, there's zero resistance. It's less about the impact of one push up, more about the consistency. Little tiny wins add up faster than you think. What got you thinking about them?
Okay, my second question. Why are small habits important in life?
Well, the thing about tiny habits is they bypass this whole willpower battle we're always fighting. When something's small enough, your brain basically doesn't put up a fight. It's like, oh, I can floss one tooth easy. But once you've started that tiny habit, there's this weird momentum effect. Often you end up doing more than just the one thing you planned.
Okay,
What
my
area of
third
your life
question.
are you trying to build?
Okay,
Go
my
for it,
third
I'm
question.
listening.
Okay, my third question. How do micro habits build discipline? Discipline.
Good pipeline. Ah, discipline. Yeah, it's a smart connection. Micro habits actually build discipline. I think it's two parts to it. First, when you succeed at these tiny things regularly, it builds this sense of competence. You start believing you can actually follow through. And second, each little success creates this mental muscle. Your brain basically learns that following through feels good, and then it applies that pattern to bigger tasks down the line.
Okay,
So it
my
becomes
fourth
less about
question.
motivation and
Okay, my
your
fourth question.
forefathers. That's the
Okay, my fourth question. Can small actions really change a person's life?
yes, absolutely. It's kind of mind blowing when you think about it. Tiny things adding up to big change. Like, think about consistently flossing one tooth, turning into a full mouth, or doing one push up, turning into a workout routine. The power is in consistency over time. They build on each other and create momentum in the right direction. Do you have any particular changes in mind that you're curious about? Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
O- Okay, my fifth question. What is the best time of start micro habit?
Mm. The best time is whenever you can be consistent. Honestly, there's no magic hour, but people find habit stacking really effective. Basically, you attach the new micro habit to something you already do every day. Like after I brush my teeth, I'll floss one tooth. Or after I pour my coffee, I'll do one push up. Timing gets tricky when you try to force something into a totally new slot. Does that
Uh,
make sense?
okay, my sixth question. How long does it take to form a habit?
You know what? It's one of those questions that has a tricky answer. The whole 21 days thing is kind of busted myth. Depends a lot on the habit and the person, but from what I've read, the real range is more like 18 to 254 days. Sounds wild, right? But what matters even more than the length of time is doing it consistently, especially in the beginning. Micro habits help because they actually make consistency easier. Those
O-
tiny actions give you the early wins.
Okay, my seventh question. What are example of simple daily habit?
Tons. Here's a quick list: drink a glass of water right when you wake up, read one page of a book, write one sentence in a journal, stretch for 60 seconds, do a quick gratitude list, even just think of one thing you're thankful for. Or you could just take 5 deep breaths at lunchtime. The simpler, the better, honestly. Sometimes I find the dumbest sounding ones stick the best because they feel so doable.
Okay, my
Which ones
eighth.
sound interesting to you?
Okay, my eighth question: how can student significant from micro habit?
I think you meant how can students benefit from micro habits? Is that right? If so, absolutely students could benefit big time. Micro habits can relieve some of that overwhelmed feeling when you're juggling studies, work, life. Instead of study for 3 hours tonight, it becomes read one paragraph from my textbook. And that small start might turn into you actually wanting to keep going once you've made that
My
initial step easier.
my ninth question:
What are you studying?
why do people fail to stay constant?
Yeah, consistency is definitely the tough part for most people. A big piece of it is life just happens, right? Stuff comes up. But honestly, the biggest reason I think people struggle is they go too big, too fast. When you aim for something ambitious like exercise for an hour every day, you set yourself up for failure because there will be days when you realistically just like can't swing that. Micro habits fix that by lowering the barrier so much that it's hard to fail. That makes sense?
Okay, my tenth question: how can we stay motivated daily?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? It's tempting to think you can just stay motivated, but what's worked best for people I've heard about is to stop focusing so much on motivation itself. Because motivation is this unreliable emotion that vanishes at exactly the wrong moment. It's more about building systems instead, those micro habits we were talking about become the system that keeps you going, even when you're not feeling motivated. Does that make sense? Like focus less on needing to feel it, more on having something automatic in place?
Okay, my 11th question: why is respecting parents important?
Hmm. That's a big one. Respecting your parents has a lot of layers, but at its core, it's about recognizing that they've given you life and done their best, even when it's complicated or you don't always agree with them. It creates a foundation of trust and allows you to really connect.
Okay,
Honestly, sometimes respecting your parents doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they do, but it does mean treating them with dignity and kindness.
okay, my 12th
Are
question:
your parents
uh, how does parents affect relationship?
how parents affect rebellion? That's complicated. A lot of it depends on what's driving the rebellion in the first place. Sometimes it's a normal part of growing up and figuring out who you are, testing boundaries. Other times it's about feeling unheard or like there's tension in the relationship.
How after should
What happens is that
how after should
mm,
my 13th question: how after should be expression love of our parents?
expressing love to your parents, that's actually really beautiful. I think it's about finding your way to show it, whether it's through small gestures like calling them just to check in or bigger ways like being there during tough times. Sometimes words are easier, like telling them you appreciate something specific they've done. And honestly, just spending quality time together is huge, like really being present with them instead of glued to your phone. What do you think might be a natural way for you to do that?
Okay, my 14th question: what are other way to show kindness of parent?
So many ways. Simple things like helping with chores without being asked, offering a sincere thank you instead of just taking things for granted, really listening when they talk instead of zoning out. Sometimes it's about anticipating their needs, maybe making them coffee in the morning or running an errand if you know they're busy. Small, thoughtful actions add up way more than big, grand gestures. What does your family do to show they care for each other?
Okay, my 16th question. How does a simple hug change someone mood?
Ooh, dogs. They're basically furry mood boosters. I've heard that petting a dog releases oxytocin. That's the love hormone. So you feel more calm and connected. And they just force you to be present. Like you have to go outside for walks, which gets you fresh air and sun. And then they're just always happy to see you, even on bad days. It's hard to stay grumpy when you've got a tail wagging in your face, honestly. Do you have a pet?
Okay, my 16th question. What does Islam teach about parent?
I'm happy to share what I know about Islamic teachings on parents. Islam places immense importance on honoring and respecting parents. There are verses in the Quran and teachings of the Prophet Muhammad that strongly encourage showing kindness, obedience, and gratitude. It teaches Muslims to care for their parents in their old age, even if they are non Muslim, and stresses that mistreating them goes against Islamic values. You can find more information by searching for filial piety in Islam or resources on Islamic ethics around parental care.
My 17th question. How can we make parents feel valued daily?
Making your parents feel valued, that's really thoughtful of you to ask about. A lot of it is about seeing them as whole people, not just as parents. Ask about their interests, their dreams, things unrelated to you. Celebrate their accomplishments. Spend focused time with them, putting away distractions. And telling them genuinely what you appreciate about them is huge. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I really admire your work ethic, or I appreciate you being there for me.
My
It's so
18th question.
small but meaningful.
My 18th question.
Okay,
What
hit me
is
with
reward? What is reward of serving parent?
Islamic teachings speak pretty powerfully about the rewards of honoring parents. From what I understand, there's not just spiritual reward, closeness to God, blessings in this life, but actually some teachings that suggest treating parents well can be a means of earning forgiveness for your own sins and gaining admission to paradise. The depth of respect it's said to earn from God shows how much Islam prioritizes their well being. Do you practice Islam yourself or did you come across that somewhere else?
Okay, my 21 question. Sorry, 20 question. What is Nafi prayer?
Hang on, let me look that up. Oh, there's a bunch. There's Nafi Mashriki, who plays basketball in New York, Nafi Thiam, who's an athlete in Belgium, and also a rugby player in New Zealand called Nafi Tuita basket player, and there's a cricket player who recently played in Bangladesh Premier League named Kawaja Nafe. There's even a Canadian Counter-Strike player called Keith Naf Markovic. Which one did you have in mind?
My 21 question. Why is Nafi important in Muslim? Sorry, Islam.
Sorry, I misspoke. Islam has. Nafi in Islam can refer to two important things. First, and Nafi is actually one of the 99 names of God, meaning the benefactor, the source of all goodness. And second, there's a significant historical figure, Nafi ibn Abdel Rahman, who was a key reciter of the Quran. Both concepts emphasize benefit and guidance in Islam. Does that help
Okay,
clarify things?
okay. My last question. How does Nafi strength Fateh?
Hmm. I'm not catching that last part. The 9 strength 30 is unclear. Could you say it again?
Okay. Uh,
Thanks for all the questions. You've got a curious mind. I noticed you asked a lot
how
about
can we
parenting
make
and
time?
values. It seems like that.
Listen. How can we
How can
make time of Nafi?
di- Okay. I'm listening. How can we make time when you feel like there's nothing there? That's a really good question. So if you're completely overwhelmed or staring at a blank slate, I think the